Good evening and welcome to the Capitol Report on NTD Television. I'm Steve Lance, and coming up, President Trump today perfecting his reciprocal tariff plan, one day before what the White House is calling one of the most important days in modern American history. What we know about the announcement tomorrow and how countries are planning to respond. Two special elections in the state of Florida, perhaps reshaping the dynamics in Congress, with Democrats eyeing at least one of those seats. And what does Democratic Senator Cory Booker's marathon speech reveal about the party's leadership? Could it influence today's elections for the Wisconsin Supreme Court and the two seats in Florida? We'll get insights from both sides of the aisle from our panel. The JFK assassination files released by the Trump administration have been out for 2 weeks now. A House task force looking into them for the first time and inviting experts for questions.
This is Capitol Report, live from our global headquarters in our nation's capital. Here's Steve Lance.
The White House says President Trump was working with advisors today to perfect his reciprocal tariff plan that's supposed to be unveiled tomorrow. This as stocks fluctuating on Tuesday, the administration seeking to ease concerns about market reaction. Joining us now live is NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao.
As President Trump is set to announce a sweeping round of reciprocal tariffs on Wednesday, the White House says the president spent time on Tuesday working with his advisors to perfect his tariff plans, adding that these new tariffs are set to kick in immediately.
Head to tomorrow, April 2nd, 2025, will go down as one of the most important days in modern American history. Tomorrow they will be effective immediately. The president will be addressing the decades of unfair trade practices that have ripped our country off and American workers off.
The Trump administration has suggested the reciprocal tariffs will match other countries' tariffs in proportion, though exact details are not yet known. President Trump said
the tariffs will be far more generous than those countries were to us.
Countries are waiting to see the exact details before announcing specific moves, but European leaders are vowing a strong plan to respond, and leaders of Canada and Mexico talked on Tuesday, noting challenging times ahead and agreeing to increase trade between each other. The White House leaving the door open for negotiations.
The president is always up to take a phone call, always up for a good negotiation.
Meanwhile, U.S. stocks fluctuated on Tuesday amid tariff uncertainty. The administration brushing off concerns about potential market instability.
Just like they were in his first term, Wall Street will be just fine.
Meanwhile, the announcement event at Rose Garden on Wednesday will take place at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, right after markets close. The White House tells NTD that there will be rank-and-file auto workers and steel workers joining President Trump at that event, in addition to cabinet and congressional members. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NTD News.
And a House task force inviting experts on the JFK assassination for questions related to the recently released JFK files. NTD correspondent Jason Blair reports.
The FBI and the CIA should not have the last word on JFK's murder. You should.
2 weeks after the release of 80,000 pages from the JFK assassination files, the House Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets looked into the tragic event.
The assassination of President John F. Kennedy on November 22nd, 1963 remains one of the most defining and haunting events in our nation's history.
Experts on the assassination were invited for questions. They all emphasized the importance of transparency.
Can we return to a world where we can trust our government to level with us, the people for which this government exists?
Secrecy is the enemy of democracy. It's the enemy of the Republican form of government. And an misinformed or uninformed public cannot make good decisions. And a compliant press helps cushion the public from that fact. When President Kennedy took office, 75% of the public believed in what the government was saying. By the 90s, it was down to 19%.
One witness focused on 3 CIA agents who he believes were complicit in the assassination.
We know now that Richard Helms, James Angleton, and George Joannides were responsible for or complicit in the death of the president, either by criminal negligence or covert action. My recommendations to the task force are: 1, secure and release the personnel file of George Joannides, and 2, ask the CIA to provide a public statement answering the question, why did these 3 men lie to JFK investigators?
Mr. Morley thinks the answers will fulfill the committee's and the Trump administration's goal of full JFK disclosure. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Jason Blair, NTD News.
Republicans hoping to add 2 more seats to their slim majority in the House of Representatives this after today's special elections in Florida. Our Washington correspondent, Louise Martinez, joins us in studio to break it all down. Louise, great to have you in here with us. You've been tracking this very closely. These 2 special elections in Florida, they appear to be shaping up a lot closer than Republicans would hope that they would be, particularly the one in the 6th district down there in the Sunshine State. What can you tell us about these races, and could they ultimately be bellwethers for the midterms?
Well, first of all, Steve, what you were mentioning, that's very true. So the 6th district, one of the 2 special elections, the other one is the 1st district. That was a district that Trump won over on November 5th by over 30 points. And then Congressman Mike Waltz, now National Security Advisor, and the seat that's being left open, he also won that by 32 points back on November 5th. And right now, Randy Fine, the Republican contender who's facing off against Josh Wilde, comes into today's special election with only a 5-point lead over the Democrat, which is, of course, a smaller, way smaller margin than those 30 points that Trump had. We also have to consider that Democratic Party put in close to $10 million into that race. Republican contender only put $1 million, of which $600,000 were from his own pocket. So, of course, there's a disparity also in fundraising. On the 1st district, the close friend to Donald Trump, Jim Pertonis, is actually 20 points ahead on early voting data. So both seem to be going to the Republicans, but these close margins are scaring some Republicans, and that's the reasoning behind, of course, President Donald Trump pulling Elise Stefanik from the UN ambassadorship and, of course, making her stay in that congressional district in New York that would have been a very tight race. But we also have to consider, Steve, that we're 2 years from the midterm elections. The incumbent party, so the one in office, is always going to do worse off in special elections. And this will not be the same thing that in 2026.
But to our next, segment or point that we're going to talk about today, Speaker Johnson sending lawmakers home. This was, over losing a vote on a rule against proxy voting. Does this spell troubles on the horizon for the Speaker of the House, and could the honeymoon phase be over?
Well, it's the first time we've seen Speaker of the House Mike Johnson in this 119th Congress actually face some troubles, because he got his gavel on the first vote. He passed the continuing resolution, even having the House Freedom Caucus vote for a continuing resolution, which they have never done before. But now today we had 9 Republicans vote against a rule to do with the discharge petition of Ana Paulina Luna, which is to allow for proxy voting. So just to sum up, 9 Republicans went against the leadership, and now Speaker of the House Mike Johnson doesn't have the votes, might have to face the discharge petition, and what he decided to do instead is to send all lawmakers home. No more legislative business for the week, because they couldn't even put a vote of what they were going to vote on for the rest of the week. So we're going to have to wait to see until next Monday what's going to happen with this proxy voting. What we do know is that House Republican leadership believe that proxy voting is unconstitutional and would open the way to many other caveats to allow for lawmakers to vote without being present.
Certainly makes tonight's special election in Florida, those congressional seats, seem a little bit more consequential.
Of course, because right now there's a 218 majority that Republicans have versus 213 Democrats. But with these 2 seats, if they go, for example, for the Democrats, and already Republicans have Thomas Massie voting against them constantly on budgetary issues, and we already saw Ana Paulina Luna going against House Republican leadership on the proxy voting, then yes, it does spell trouble if they don't secure these 2 seats.
And the Florida Congresswoman departing the House Freedom Caucus as well.
Of course.
Louise Martinez, thank you so much. And the White House says the southwest border crossings are at the lowest level in American history. That's as President Trump faces multiple legal challenges on illegal immigration. NTD's international correspondent, Arian Pazdar, has an immigration update.
Southwest border crossings in March fell to the lowest level in American history, down 94% from March of last year.
White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt on Tuesday, saying the administration keeps tackling illegal immigration. According to her, almost 140,000 immigrants entered the U.S. illegally in March of last year, a number that's much lower a year later. The Trump administration has been deporting alleged gang members to a maximum security prison in El Salvador. On Monday, the administration admitted that an administrative mistake resulted in a Salvadoran man's deportation and imprisonment. That's despite the fact that a judge had granted him legal protection from deportation. On Tuesday, Leavitt said that the individual was a member of the MS-13 gang.
We also have credible intelligence proving that this individual was involved in human trafficking. And fact number 3, this individual was a member, actually a leader, of the brutal MS-13 gang, which this president has designated as a foreign terrorist organization. Fact number 4 is that foreign terrorists do not have legal protections in the United States of America anymore.
This comes as top Democrats are suing President Trump over a recent executive order. Trump's action aims to enforce the law against illegal immigrant voting and election dates. The lawsuit alleges that the executive order seeks to impose radical changes on how Americans register to vote, cast a ballot, and participate in our democracy, all of which threaten to disenfranchise lawful voters, and none of which is legal. The suit was filed by the Democratic National Committee, Senator Chuck Schumer, and Representative Hakeem Jeffries. They want the court to declare that the order violates the Constitution and block officials from implementing it. And in other immigration-related news, attorneys general from 26 states are asking the Supreme Court to allow President Trump to keep deporting alleged gang members. Trump used the Alien Enemies Act to deport alleged members of the trendy Aragua gang. A federal judge recently blocked Trump's ability to implement the law. The president then asked the Supreme Court to overturn that ruling and allow him to use the law for deportations. The High Court might make a decision in the case on Tuesday. Ariane Pastar, NTD News.
Coming up, polls now closed in Florida, but voters in Wisconsin still have time to cast their votes in that high-stakes Supreme Court race. How could these results shape Trump's agenda? We'll hear from political commentators from both sides of the aisle. And another round of U.S. tariffs set to take effect tomorrow. We'll sit down with financial advisor Ed Butowski to break down the economic implications when we come back.
I have never seen a production any better than this, anywhere.
Breathtaking. It is absolutely stunning.
I feel better about the world. I feel uplifted.
Invigorating. It was encouraging, gave me hope.
This has just been therapy for the soul.
It's a must-see. Must-see.
Make sure you see it. Make sure you see it.
Coming to Lincoln Center, March 26th through April 13th. Shenyun.com.
Kids love it. Parents trust it.
Obviously.
Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Ganjiong Campus courses led by expert educators.
This is spectacular.
Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more.
Wow.
All while having fun.
Perfect.
Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now. With your gift of $19 a month, we'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
Is deep-sea fish oil really healthy? Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals, especially vitamins A, D, E, calcium, and iron. With natural processing and no harmful chemical additives, it has more than 90% concentration of omegas 3, 6, 7, and 9. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritang omega-3 does not smell of fish and contains no pollutants, so both adults and children can safely and easily consume it over a long period of time. Puritang green vegetable omega-3, greener, healthier, and more effective. Visit puritang.com to learn more.
And welcome back to the Capitol Report. I'm Steve Lance. New Jersey Senator Cory Booker delivering a nearly 24-hour marathon speech. Will this be a boost for Democrats in today's special elections in Florida, as well as the high-stakes Wisconsin Supreme Court race? I spoke earlier with Bobby Eberle, host of the 13-Minute News Hour, and Republican strategist Josh Lafazan, Democratic strategist and former Nassau County legislator in New York, to get both of their thoughts. Josh Lafazan, Bobby Eberle, great to have you both.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
Starting off right here, Senator Cory Booker holding an overnight 17-hour speech, this in protest of the Trump administration's actions. I want to play you a clip of him during the speech.
In just 71 days, the President of the United States has inflicted so much harm on Americans' safety, financial stability, the core foundations of our democracy, and even our aspirations as a people for, from our highest offices, a sense of common decency. These are not normal times in America. And they should not be treated as such.
Bobby, the Senate allows for virtually unlimited debate. This is rather unusual. We don't see this quite often. What do you make of Booker using this rule?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit bizarre because, I mean, this doesn't qualify as one of these long, really filibuster speeches. I mean, there was nothing pending, I don't believe. This is just to take to the floor to bash Trump and bash Elon Musk. So it's really, really strange. But the things they're doing, I don't think that it's going to resonate. Going after Medicare, going after Medicaid. We know that's not what's being done. And he even used examples that I think are very telling because he says, you know, I have these examples here of people, you know, fearful that Medicare or Medicaid might be taken away. Well, of course, because that's the narrative they keep pushing. So being fearful is one thing, but the facts are something else. And I just think it's epic grandstanding.
To that point, Josh, the Republicans in power in both chambers, the president and the executive branch at the White House stealing sort of the news of the day with everything coming out with, you know, the tariffs and executive orders that come out on a day-to-day basis. Is this just sort of a way to maybe garner some of that news cycle?
No, I think what Senator Cory Booker is doing is exactly what Democrats want their leaders to do. We do not have control of the House, the Senate, the courts, or the White House. And so many Democrats like me were frustrated at that what we felt was Senator Schumer capitulating and giving the Republicans the votes to keep the government open. And many Democrats felt that we should have fought because times are unprecedented. And so we believe what Senator Booker is doing is showing that we can fight, even though we're not in the majority, we can fight, and that we should loop in the entire country because times are unprecedented, right? We look at what's happening now. You have $2 trillion of proposed cuts to the poorest and middle class in this country with $4.5 trillion cuts, half of most have gone to the rich. You have amendments being thrown out like an executive order to overturn the 14th Amendment, or Trump's going to run again in 2028 and overturn the 22nd Amendment. And most importantly, you have DOJ making arbitrary cuts that the courts continue to tell them they can't make.
Bobby?
It's interesting comments because I do agree that someone needs to step up, and maybe it's Cory Booker. I mean, I appreciate the fact that he's doing this because, yeah, Chuck Schumer's taking heat. Jeffries is refusing to really carry that mantle of leadership. So for Booker to take to the floor and to do this speech like this, laying out what they are, I'll say, perceived grievances, but exactly to have a voice, because I mean, I think the Democrats after the last election do feel like they're out in their wilderness and they're searching for a leader. Hey, he's taking it and running with it. So good for them on that part.
Just want to move on here for a moment. A few special elections coming up this evening. 2 vacant House seats up for grabs in Florida's special elections. Republican Randy Fine facing the Democrat Josh Weil in the 6th district, as well as Republican Jimmy Patronis facing Democrat Gay Valmont in the 1st. Bobby, we'll start with you here. What do the margins look like here, and why has there been increased attention specifically on the Fine-Weil race, and is this going to ultimately be a referendum?
Well, I think part of the reason that's getting so much attention is, one, the closeness of the House. I mean, this will add or subtract to that margin. And 2, the fact that Trump won these by so much. I believe he won both the first, I mean, Gates won re-election and Walz won re-election by some 30 points this last time around. So I do feel that they're safe, but the polling is showing them much, much closer than that. And so all of a sudden, people are paying attention. So in the end, when the polls close and the ballots are counted, I don't think it's going to change anything. I think both Patronis and Fine will be elected, but the money that's being put in and the effort that's being made from the Democrats, I mean, regardless of what happened in November, they can still mobilize and they can still rally. And I think that's what we're feeling right now.
Josh, how are Democrats feeling about these races?
Sure, Democrats are feeling optimistic, but I would warn my fellow Democrats that special elections are not always harbingers of things to come, right? Special elections, as Bobby mentioned, there is an inordinate amount of money being spent on those races. The ads don't get drowned out like they do in November because it's the only political ad on TV. People are going to vote in March, April, and May, so they're voting in off time. And a lot of time, the candidate that fits the district, it might be a district-specific issue that ends up carrying the day. So I would warn Democrats, because I don't believe Democrats will win this evening. What is of note and what I'm paying attention is the momentum of Democrats. I didn't believe in the second Trump term that the, quote, Trump backlash from the Democrats would be as coordinated and furious as it was in 2017. It seems that, as Bobby mentioned, Democrats have gotten their groove back. They've found a way to mobilize and they've found a way to fight back. So even if they're not going to win, it is a sign that Democrats are not going to go lightly through the end of 2025. And I think they're favored to take the House back in 2026.
Now, another big one garnering a lot of attention will be what will ultimately decide the balance of the Wisconsin Supreme Court, which will be decided, shortly. That one's breaking records with more than $90 million spent. This coming from many billionaire donors, Elon Musk, George Soros. Josh, with this being the most expensive judicial race in U.S. history, why do you think the growing national attention on these state courts, and are we politicizing these races?
Of course we are, right? And when the founders set up our country, the Supreme Court and the judiciary was meant to be above the fray of politics. It's why Supreme Court justices were appointed for life, so that they could make rulings without the repercussions of the political realities of those decisions. Flash forward to 2025, and the politicization of our courts means that it erodes people's trust in the rulings. So a couple of points here. Number one, Elon Musk being able to give $1 million check to people to sign up to his super PAC is currently legal and should be illegal, because that is a loophole that violates the credo, the creed that one person equals one vote. The second thing is we obviously have to overturn Citizens United in this country. We spend way too much money on politics, and it really removes people from the individual races because the billionaires can spend money like they're picking stocks. And lastly, what I want to make a point here is I think the Democrats are going to win in Wisconsin.
Bobby, give you the last word.
I think we pull it out. I mean, the attention on this has been crazy. But to Josh's point about the Democrats being able to mobilize, it's just right on. I think, the conservatives, they rallied around Trump. Republicans rallied around Trump. We wanted to fix the border, throw off wokeness and DEI and all these things. But what Republicans tend to do is then it's like we go on with our lives. But all of a sudden, these are major elections in Florida and in Wisconsin, and the Democrats are right there ready to go. I think it took us by surprise a little bit. I've been following Scott Pressler's posts kind of real time on the turnout. And I think what we see today is what will put us through across the finish line on our side. But it's still a wake-up call that we always have to be on guard.
Bobby Eberle, Josh Lavazan, thank you both so much.
Thanks a lot.
And right now, as we speak, Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey has just broken the record for the longest Senate speech in U.S. history, kicking off a marathon speech on the Senate floor at 7 p.m. last night. There are no signs of him stopping anytime soon. Booker's address is a protest against actions taken by the Trump administration, according to him. The speech is not a filibuster because he's not blocking legislation or a nomination. The Senate floor will remain open for as long as Booker continues speaking. And Democratic Senator Tim Kaine holding a press conference outside of the Capitol to promote legislation he introduced last month to undo President Trump's tariffs on Canada. He's joined by Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and other senators who co-sponsored the joint resolution.
So why invent this emergency? The emergency is being invented to do the tariffs, to do the taxes on everyday Americans. Why? So they can use the tariff revenue to give a tax cut to billionaires.
5 Democrats, Independent Senator Angus King and Republican Senator Rand Paul signing on as co-signers to that joint resolution. It aims to terminate, quote, the national emergency declared to impose duties on articles imported from Canada, end quote. Senator Kaine says it could come up for a vote on Wednesday. And another round of U.S. tariffs on foreign imports set to take effect in less than 24 hours. In President Trump's own words, April 2nd, tomorrow, will be Liberation Day, when America frees itself from heavy reliance on foreign goods. Joining us to assess the impact is Ed Butowski, managing partner of Chapwood Investments. Ed Butowski, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Ed, the White House today saying President Trump has settled on a plan for the upcoming round of tariffs set to take place tomorrow. I want to play you a soundbite from Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
Don't want to get ahead of the president. This is obviously a very big day. He's with his trade and tariff team right now, perfecting it to make sure this is a perfect deal for the American people and the American worker. And you will all find out in about 24 hours from now.
Ed, in your view, which countries are on the table and which ones are most likely to be affected?
Well, I'll tell you, it's obvious that Canada and Mexico are going to be ones that are going to have direct, negative reactions to this. But you also have China, you have European countries. It really runs the gamut because everybody is at a trade deficit to the United States. So as long as Trump has you in his crosshairs, he's going to go after you for tariffs.
And the incentivizing factor behind it is to essentially say if you're not happy with that tax or that tariff, then bring the manufacturing back to the United States. So on that note, President Trump has been previewing tomorrow, April 2nd, with a lot of enthusiasm, even dubbing it Liberation Day. Unpack for us the significance of what's to come and why you think that this is so important and pivotal for his administration.
Well, it's a long-term plan, and we live in a world of short-term thinkers, and that's the sad part. But the long-term plan, a lot of this is not going to really be a positive until Trump is out of office, because it's going to take a long time for these companies to build manufacturing plants in the United States and adjust their production into the United States. So, it is a long-term thing, and we live, again, in a very short-term thinking world, and we look for reactions, like for prices to come down immediately, and they're not going to as a result of this. In fact, I think prices are going to go higher on a lot of big items as a result of these tariffs.
And Ed, most reporting is anticipating 20% tariffs across the board. Do you think he's going to come in with that number? And if he doesn't, what might that speak to?
Well, it really depends on the item. On the cars, I think he's going to waver a little bit because of the stress that it's going to put on the domestic manufacturers. Because even if you have a GM factory that's going to be beneficial, in Tennessee, they have a GM factory that's going to be hurt in Mexico or in Canada. So even if there is a positive to General Motors domestically, it's also going to simultaneously be a negative internationally. So I think that he's going to, kind of waver a little bit on some of these, and he says that they're permanent, but to what degree are they going to be permanent? I don't know if a 25% tariff on imports on vehicles is going to actually, be sustainable or not.
Now, as we know, China has been a central focus for the Trump administration's trade policy. In February, President Trump imposing a 10% tariff on $400 billion worth of Chinese exports, then adding an additional 10% last month. What's on the horizon tomorrow for China, and which industries will likely be the primary target?
The primary target is going to be electronics because, he's gone after them for their piracy. But at the same time, the Chinese are able to make things much cheaper, and they do it with very, very low wages for their workers. So I think he's going to be going after technology with China. And I think there's certain companies that are going to be hurt more than others as a result of that. But I think China is going to get its fair share of tariffs without question.
Just to follow up on that, on his first day in office, President Trump unveiled the America First trade policy, which mandates officials to assess a bill that could revoke China's permanent normal trade relations status. Under this directive, what changes do you foresee in the future of U.S.-China trade relations?
I think it's going to be a constant negotiation and buffering back and forth, to see who, kind of, falls apart on one area or not. I think the United States, I think what Trump is doing is very smart. Instead of having a kinetic war, he's using our biggest resource, which is our economy. And that is very, very smart. Since we're at a trade deficit with every country out there, this is a smart way of doing things. I just think the expectations that he's laid out for the United States is not reasonable. I think the United States is going to have a hard time with this for a longer period of time, and it's not going to be a quick fix in the economy like we saw in his first term.
I think you highlight an important point. The Chinese Communist Party, by all accounts, has infiltrated the United States, taken advantage of our free and open society, something which we cannot do. We can't go onto their Wall Street. We can't go to their universities and penetrate the way they have here and manipulate our society. So to your point, our economy and leveraging it is our biggest tool in the toolbox when it comes to non-kinetic national security. Ed Butowski, really appreciate your perspective.
Thank you.
Coming up, with a TikTok ban looming, who's looking to buy? And how concerning are China's latest military drills near Taiwan? James Lewis, Senior VP at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, joins us to assess.
Looking to refresh the style in your home? Here at Mathis Home, we can help you find exactly what you need during our spring style event. Whether you're looking for rustic farmhouse, classic, or modern and eclectic, we have all the latest looks that will leave your home feeling brand new. Whatever your style, we know that we can help you find it at the lowest price. Because not only do we want you to feel good in your home, we know that to earn your business, our prices have to be the best. So come to the spring style event at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
Hi, Mike Huckabee here. Having spent many years in politics, I can comfortably say that the current climate is enough to keep any of us awake at night. And I safeguard my well-being by making sure that I get a good night's rest with Relaxium Sleep, America's #1 trusted sleep aid.
I'm Dr. Eric Siliberti, founder of Relaxium, America's most trusted sleep aid.
Just like you're seeing me on television now, I saw a commercial for Relaxium Sleep back then. I called, and the rest is history.
When I take Relaxium Sleep, I sleep better than I have in years.
I wake up feeling like I've had the best night's sleep.
As a clinical neurologist, I know how essential sleep is for building and nourishing both your mental and physical health.
Relaxium Sleep is made in the USA, has no risk of dependency, and is drug-free. It's also the only sleep aid with Valarest as part of its triple-action formula.
I developed Relaxium to help my patients fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up refreshed.
Relaxium Sleep worked from the very first night I took it.
You've got to try Relaxium Sleep for yourself, because once you do, you'll be a customer for life, just like me. And right now, you can try it for free.
For nearly 2 decades now, Relaxium Sleep has been changing millions of lives.
Take Relaxium Sleep. I promise you it'll work.
If you're experiencing sleepless nights or tossing and turning, you need to try Relaxium Sleep now.
I trust Relaxium Sleep and so should you. Get the best night of sleep guaranteed. Don't wait another minute. Call now.
Mike Huckabee is so confident that Relaxium Sleep will work for you, he's asked us to give away another 1,000 bottles. Get your free bottle of Relaxium Sleep now. Visit tryrelaxium.com or call 800-418-1606. That's tryrelaxium.com or call 800-418-1606.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. How to safely build a fire, and how to control the flames. But I can only teach wildfire prevention. Only you can prevent wildfires.
And welcome back. The fate of TikTok in the United States once again hangs in the balance. By April 5th, parent company ByteDance, CCP-owned, must decide whether to divest its ownership or risk a ban from the U.S. market. Last year, President Biden signed a bipartisan bill requiring TikTok to cut ties with parent company ByteDance over national security concerns. Lawmakers fear the China-owned app could be used by the CCP to collect user data and help the regime expand its influence right here in the U.S. The original deadline was January 19th, but was extended by President Trump for an additional 75 days. The administration is hoping to facilitate a deal that would put TikTok in the hands of an American owner. Vice President J.D. Vance and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz are overseeing that deal. And with this TikTok ban looming, who are the potential investors? Meanwhile, China ramping up military drills around Taiwan. To break it all down, we're now joined by James Lewis, Senior Vice President at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. James, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
James, TikTok almost out of time to find a buyer or face that looming ban with this week's April 5th deadline just around the corner. I want to play you a clip of President Trump and what he had to say about it. Seems like we're having trouble pulling this up right now. He said something along the lines of, we have a lot of potential buyers. There's tremendous interest in TikTok. The decision is going to be his decision, and he'd like to see TikTok stay alive. What do you know about any of these potential buyers, and what do you predict will happen come Saturday? Will the CCP sell?
I think the Chinese government has signaled that they'll go along with the sale. They said that a few weeks ago. And so at this point, the outlines of a deal are pretty clear. It will involve reduced ownership for ByteDance. It will involve some transfer of funding, and it will involve a lot more oversight for the flows of data between the US and China. There may even be no flows. So I think what we're seeing now is, I'm told that it's just ByteDance holding out for a higher price, but the deal is imminent. And look, if they don't make Saturday the deadline, the president has already said that he'll kick it down the road a little, but there's a good chance that we'll see this all wrapped up by the end of the week.
You really think the Chinese Communist Party is going to give up that coveted algorithm?
So I've been talking to friends about this, and we decided that the most likely explanation for that, the short answer, yes. The most likely explanation for that is they don't need it anymore. They've got other ways to spy on us. They'll still use it to collect data on Americans. They have an insatiable appetite for personal data on their own citizens, of course, and apparently on Americans as well. But TikTok's just one of the vehicles they have for doing this, and they seem a little more relaxed than they were a year ago about giving it up.
Now, pivoting just a bit here, a Chinese aircraft carrier battle group moving into position near Taiwan on Tuesday. This is part of the Chinese regime's large-scale military drills in the general region there surrounding Taiwan. I want to play you a clip of White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt's comment on Taiwan.
The president is emphasizing the importance of maintaining peace in the Taiwan Strait, encouraging the peaceful resolution of these cross-strait issues, reiterating our opposition to any unilateral attempts to change the status quo by force or coercion.
How should we interpret China's move here? Is this an act of aggression, provocation? How are you assessing this?
Oh, it's aggression. The Chinese and the Taiwanese are looking closely at Ukraine and the U.S. actions on Ukraine and wondering, will the same thing happen in Taiwan? So China, of course, hopes they can avoid military conflict, that Taiwan will just fall into their laps because of pressure. Things like this, sailing an aircraft carrier offshore, buzzing the island repeatedly with aircraft, a huge amount of pressure on Taiwan. And the hope is the Taiwanese will fall into their laps without much of a fight. I don't know if that will happen, but the Chinese don't want to give up. And the thing that worries me the most is that Xi Jinping, what's he in his 70s now? He wants to go down in history as the person who reunited Taiwan with the motherland. And that's going to put more and more pressure on him to do something. The signals we send as a country, including our signals on Ukraine, will really shape that outcome. And right now, other countries in the region are nervous about what's going on there, the U.S. commitment. I think at the end of the day, we don't have a choice. If we fail to back Taiwan, it will destroy our credibility in Asia.
What can the administration be doing to strengthen deterrence? Do you think that the tariffs that we're going to be seeing rolled out tomorrow, potentially an additional 20% on China, will that in fact maybe push them back a bit?
The Chinese have sort of gamed out the tariffs. They're nervous about them. And it does factor into the TikTok deal because the president has said, well, tariffs could be a little negotiable depending on what happens with TikTok. But the point here is that economic pressure is probably not going to be enough to deter the Chinese. We're going to need to do other things. The best thing to do would be for the president to pick up the phone, call Xi and say, let's stick to the deal. Taiwan stays outside your orbit. But we need that kind of political intervention, along with the military presence that the U.S. has, Japan, Australia, even some of the European powers. Hopefully that will be enough to give China a hint as to how the world would react, and they will react badly if anything happens to Taiwan.
James Lewis, Center for Strategic and International Studies. Appreciate your insights.
Thank you.
A federal judge in New York yesterday dismissing a lawsuit against former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, the plaintiff saying that Cuomo is responsible for the deaths of their loved ones in nursing homes during the COVID-19 pandemic. A House committee questioning Cuomo about his directive which barred nursing homes from refusing to accept patients with the virus.
You are culpable for this. My question to you is, when were you negotiating for your multi-million-dollar advance deal for your book as seniors were dying in nursing homes? That is the question in front of you.
You can't make up facts, Congresswoman.
You're the one making up facts. You're the one who undercounted nursing home deaths. You're the one who I want to ask right now. You apologize today, but there are families sitting here. I want you to turn around, look them in the eye, and apologize, which you have failed to do. Will you do it?
This is not about political theater. It's
no,
about
this is about accountability.
More than 9,000 patients who were recovering from COVID-19 were reportedly released from hospitals. They were then sent to nursing homes under Cuomo's directive. U.S. District Court Judge Catherine Polk-Fiala, an Obama appointee, wrote on Monday, quote, "But the law as it currently stands does not permit recovery against the defendants for the harms alleged." And back to our focus on Taiwan, the Chinese Communist Party launching a new round of comprehensive military drills around the democratic island earlier today. Despite never having ruled the territory, Beijing claims the drills are a warning to President William Lai. Here's more.
China's military deployed ships, aircraft, and artillery on Tuesday. It says to practice blockading Taiwan, striking targets, and air interception. The communist regime's military released a series of propaganda videos in quick succession as it announced the drills. A video of a poster accompanying the drills titled "Closing In" showed Chinese forces surrounding the island. This was followed by a video titled Shell depicting Taiwanese President Lai as a green cartoon bug spawning parasites across the island. Taiwan's defense ministry on Tuesday said it had not detected any live fire by the Chinese military, but that at least 71 Chinese military aircraft and 13 Navy ships were involved. The defense minister criticized China, saying the communist regime is damaging the peace and stability of the region.
It is obviously that China is a very obvious troublemaker. There have been a lot of reports related to corruption problems within the People's Liberation Army. I think they should properly resolve these internal problems instead of destroying peace and stability in the region.
Taiwan's presidential office on Tuesday also condemned China's drills.
In the face of external threats, our government will continue to defend the democratic and free constitutional system. We have the confidence and the capability to defend our sovereignty rights, protecting the safety of the people, and maintaining social stability.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth recently wrapped up his first trip to Asia. Hegseth addressed CCP aggression on Sunday in Japan, saying that America first does not mean America alone.
America and Japan stand firmly together in the face of aggressive and coercive actions by the Communist Chinese. And Japan is our indispensable partner in deterring Communist Chinese military aggression.
Japan hosts around 50,000 U.S. military personnel, fighter squadrons, and an aircraft carrier strike group that help to hem in Chinese military power.
Coming up, the State Department honoring courageous women from across the globe, some of them sacrificing their safety in life-threatening situations to offer help to others. That.
I have never seen a production any better than this, anywhere.
Breathtaking. It is absolutely stunning.
I feel better about the world. I feel uplifted.
Invigorating. It was encouraging. Gave me hope.
This has just been therapy for the soul.
It's a must-see. Must-see.
Make sure you see it. Make sure you see it.
Coming to Lincoln Center, March 26th through April 13th. Shenyun.com. Discover the ancient secret to vitality and longevity with Puretang Black Ginseng. Crafted from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng, each root is carefully nurtured for over 2,260 days, undergoing a traditional 9-round handcrafted process of steaming and drying to unlock full potency and absorption. Experience pure, natural energy with Puretang Black Ginseng. Order now at puretang.com.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
And welcome back. The death toll from the earthquake in Burma, also known as Myanmar, is expected to surpass 3,000 people. The country's government added that more than 4,000 were injured, more than 400 still missing. NTD's Andrew Thomas has an update on that natural disaster and its aftermath.
Friday's 7.7 magnitude quake has left Burma reeling. The leader of the governing military junta blamed the deaths and injuries on the structure of impacted buildings.
When I visited the damaged areas, I saw mistakes in the engineering methods used for their construction. Some buildings were carelessly built without proper measurements. Some buildings were built cheaply, without spending enough money on them. I mean, the concrete buildings. When the buildings were constructed without consideration of impact of earthquake, the loss was huge when the earthquake emerged.
The recent earthquake marks the strongest tremor to hit the Southeast Asian country in more than a century. Video filmed by a teenage girl on Saturday in Mandalay showed a group trapped under the rubble.
Hello? Somebody there? We are stuck here. Please help us. I beg you, please, pull us out.
The teenagers and their grandmother were later rescued. Video footage captured an overcrowded hospital in Mandalay as injured victims lay, awaiting medical treatment. Another video showed a triage tent set up in an open area outside the hospital. Across Burma's border with Thailand, search and rescue operations continued at a collapsed building site in Bangkok. 74 people remain missing.
We will remain in operation until we are officially ordered to stand down. Deep down, our team still believes there are victims waiting to be found. We will stay until the mission ends.
But time is running out. Without water, people trapped beneath the rubble have an average survival time of about 3 days. With water, survivors have a better shot. After the 2011 earthquake and tsunami in Japan, a teenager and his 80-year-old grandmother were found alive after being trapped for 9 days. In 2010, a 16-year-old Haitian girl was rescued in Port-au-Prince after 15 days. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Celebrating women leaders around the world for their courage and sacrifices in standing up for human rights. The State Department honoring 8 women today at the 19th Annual International Women of Courage Award Ceremony. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley has more.
Today, we celebrate courage, a strength that is based in love.
First Lady Melania Trump alongside Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Tuesday honoring 8 women from across the globe for their bravery. It's the annual International Women of Courage Award ceremony held at the State Department. Each of the awardees has worked to end human trafficking, preserve the natural environment, or help those in dire situations.
And what we recognize are more than that is not just their work, but the fact that they do so oftentimes at extraordinary risk to themselves, to their families, to their loved ones.
The annual award was established by former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice in 2007. Since then, over 200 women have received this International Women of Courage Award. The First Lady singled out Georgiana Pascu from Romania, who rescues children and adults with disabilities from harmful and sometimes captive environments.
Georgiana usually shows up unannounced and discovers the unimaginable. Helpless adults and children bound, sedated, starving, and in extreme cases dying.
Another one of the women honored and the only awardee to speak at the event was Amit Susanna. She was abducted by Hamas terrorists during the October 7th attack on Israel. She was held captive for nearly 2 months and subject to sexual violence.
55 days of fear, of pain, and of being stripped of every freedom I once took for granted.
Susanna continues to call for the release of the remaining hostages while thanking President Trump for his work to free them.
The hostages cannot wait. Every single day that passes is another day of unimaginable suffering.
Many of these awardees regularly risk their lives for the sake of helping others. And this award exemplifies that, recognizing and encouraging bravery and leadership in the face of adversity. Reporting by Jack Bradley, NTD News.
And with spring at the doorstep, Washington, D.C. once again drawing massive crowds as cherry blossoms return, marking a tradition that blends beauty with history. Here's a closer look.
Looking at these blooms, and we're hopeful, and it's bringing a new energy, and
new excitement to DC. I think we need it during these times, and I think it's just nice to be calm and just be with nature and be with other people.
Each spring, Washington, D.C. bursts into bloom, and this year, over 1 million visitors are expected to take in the city's iconic cherry blossoms. From the Blossom Kite Festival to the Pink Tie Party, the National Cherry Blossom Festival celebrates the arrival of spring and the enduring friendship between the U.S. and Japan. The cherry blossom trees first arrived in Washington as a gift from Japan in 1912, lining the banks of Washington, D.C. with pink flowers every spring. Many of the trees seen today are descendants of the originals. This year's peak bloom is expected between March 28th and 21st.
Just get a break from all of it and just kind of focus on what's important and take time for yourself and your mental health. So yeah, I definitely recommend getting out in nature, and what a better time than to come see the cherry blossoms.
DC is majestic, and despite the political crazy, this is what it's all about. It's gorgeous. I love it. It's majestic. It's God.
The National Cherry Blossom Festival runs through April 13th, with celebrations in full bloom all across the Capitol.
And that is all we have for you tonight on the Capitol Report. For round-the-clock original coverage, visit us at ntd.com/live and download our NTD mobile app. From Washington, D.C., I'm Steve Lance. Have a nice evening. See you back here tomorrow.